Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DoctCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. An amazing show today. We've got Mr. Joe Burton, the CEO of ROI Marketplace, on the show. I've been waiting to get Joe on the show for over a month. He is really an expert in what he does at his digital media agency. You have to listen to the entire show. We're going to get into why so many companies are leaving money on the table, and they need design that makes conversions happen. And that's what Joe and his company at ROI Marketplace are all about. He talks about native marketing. He's one of the premier experts in the world about that. Joe, it's so exciting to have you on the show today.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me on.
So you've done so much great work with ROI Marketplace. You have so many satisfied clients. You really are an expert in content creation, design, promotion, engagement. You run the full gamut, and people come to you all the time and they say, Joe, we want ROI Marketplace to help us out because we're not monetizing our entire platform on the internet, and that's what you do to help companies out so well. So let's pull the lens back a little bit and let's just tell people a little bit about ROI Marketplace.
Yeah, so we're a full service agency, and we really specialize in, like you said, native marketing, right? So native marketing, for those that don't know about it, is basically paid promotional content online. So biggest companies in the world that are doing this are going to be Tabulas and Outbrains, Yahoo Geminis, et cetera. They're basically the small text with image-based units you're going to see all over, and they've really replaced display advertising. That was obviously big pre-native. So we carved out a niche. We specialize in only that, and it's been a really great win for our company.
I love it, Joe. So let's get into native marketing a little bit more. I call you the king of native marketing. You know everything about it. You've been at it for so long. You've spoken at conferences about it. You've been invited as a guest to many different outlets to talk about native marketing. Let's get into native marketing just a little bit. Let's pull the lens back just a little bit more and get specialized in what native marketing is, a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, so native is really meant to engage users and educate them about a product or a service. So think about paid promotional content where you're talking about maybe window installation, right? And I always do this as an example when I speak. Well, let's take Anderson Windows could buy a display ad saying, hey, replacement windows for $10 on your site, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and good. What my company does is actually write a content piece talking about the benefits of replacement windows, why they are going to increase your home value, reduce your heating costs, whatever. And then we drive users into a sales funnel where they're going to obviously convert into a customer for that client.
See, that's awesome. And you talk about the sales funnel. That's so important in your business, what you're able to do with your clients and take their potential customers, put them into a sales funnel or a sales cycle, and then make them actual real clients of your customers. So what have you seen with regard to native marketing in the past 5 years that has changed, in your opinion, that has made it even more important today to think about native marketing versus perhaps some other types of promotion or marketing and advertising?
Yeah, I mean, it's grown exponentially, right? I actually have been in this business for over 15 years and was with one of the companies that was an early pioneer in native, a company called Pulse 360, which goes back, early 2000s. At the time, it was a basic text-based sponsored link on a publisher site that was, selling a product or service, right? That evolved over time to have images in it. And now it's evolved even more to be like newsfeed based, where it's very, very integrated right inside the publisher sites. You go to MSN.com, you're going to see ads throughout their entire, website that, look and feel like actual content from MSN. And that's why they're so engaging. It's replaced display advertising in a huge way. And, one of our biggest selling points, a great compliment to what you're doing on Facebook and Google. Like, we never tell anybody, look, shut off your Facebook campaign, stop advertising on Google. Absolutely not. This is one more part of the ecosystem that for whether you're a brand or a DR focused campaign, it adds so much value to your bottom line.
See, this makes all the sense in the world. This adds value. This increases value. This is something that is in addition to what you're already doing. When we have an entrepreneur call you, Joe, who's got a company and they've heard about ROI Marketplace. They've heard about everything that you're doing and all the great work that you've done, your testimonials, your client case studies, et cetera. And they call you, Joe, and they say, hey, Joe, what can you do to help me? Do you have a certain process that you take them through from A to B to C to Z so that you can figure out exactly how you can help these companies?
We do. So step one is, does your product have a good story behind it, right? To be good on native, it has to have a good salesy, pitch behind the product, whether it's going to save you money, make you look better, add value to your home, make your life easier in some way, right? It's got to sell to some kind of pain point, which is obviously, sales and marketing 101. So we establish what that selling point is for the product, work with the client to build and create a content piece around it, and help them obviously push that content piece out to market. A lot of our clients are very ROI focused, meaning they want to spend $100 and make $150, right? Very, very simple math. But this also plays in great for brand clients. I've been saying, for years, the different speaking engagements and lectures I've given, there's no reason in the world for DoctCom shouldn't buy a content piece about the new Mustang every year, where they can reach a large base of users for fractions of what it costs to buy display ads. We're not talking about paying $30, $40 per thousand like you pay on ESPN for a banner ad. We're talking about great engagement for less than $1 a click, which is just majorly investment opportunities.
That's great. And on your website, you talk about the fact that you are big believers, as well as many leaders in their particular agency spaces, in testing,
Absolutely.
and more testing. So maybe you could get into that a little bit and tell our viewers and our listeners why it's so important from your perspective to test.
Yeah, obviously we got to see what's working and focus on that, right? So number one, again, is the story engaging? Are people reading the content, staying on the page? Are they making it to that next step in your sales funnel, right? What's your engagement rate look like? We are constantly flipping out new split tests, new angles, new ads, new landing pages, new designs, new video intros, you name it, we're testing it every single day for all of our clients. Because every time you add a couple extra pennies to your bottom line in terms of conversion rates, obviously it comes back out the bottom of the funnel at a much stronger rate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of companies, they design for looks. Mm-hmm. In your particular case, you design for conversions.
Correct.
So let's talk about that a little bit. And let's talk about why it's so important to not only have the look and feel right, but you need to design for those conversions. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, obviously it has to work, right? It'd be great for clients to throw a $1 million budget on my lap and say, we don't care how much you guys make from this, but that's not how it works, right? People want to make more than they're spending. So to have a campaign that's not profitable is, never going to last long. So everything is about how well do we convert? And again, it starts by heavy engaging content and a good product. And that's about split testing and finding the right secret sauce of ad copy, audience targeting, websites that you're on. Because don't forget, inside of all of that variables, there's a million different websites you can advertise on in this world. So getting all those factors lined up and right, is why we've been so good at what we do.
See, Joe, that makes all the sense in the world. And when we talk about a startup company, is it advisable for a startup company that has a limited advertising budget to throw some weight behind the native marketing that you're able to do for more Fortune 500, Inc. 5000 type companies? Tell us how it sort of kind of lines out for a startup company.
No, it is. Because again, it's about getting more first touch looks on your website, right? So, let's say I've got a product that, is a home-based product that I can use around my house. Well, by writing an engaging content piece and throwing even a couple $100 at that, we're going to get a ton more looks on that. Now, what's going to happen is people go to Amazon and type in your product name looking for a deal on it. People go to Google and type in your product name. Your remarketing campaigns start to get better on Facebook. More people are engaging with that content. So you don't have to have $1 million budget to play the game. You just have to have, the right strategy behind it.
See, I like that very much. And it's all about the strategy and making sure that you test constantly. You don't want to leave money on the table. You want a design that converts and a design that really takes that client and has them take an action step so you can sell them a product or service. When we talk about native marketing, Joe, and we talk about ROI Marketplace, are there certain services or products that work better in the native marketing space, or do they all work equally as well?
So we do a lot in like lead generation, people that are looking for leads for whether that's home finance, insurances, home improvements, roofing, window replacements, you name it, right? Those are all very easy. A lot of times you have a good story behind that, right? Something you can write a very engaging piece on. A lot of very, consumer-based products convert very well. Things that people are typically going to buy quickly, something that you click on, it's a cool product, I want to buy and own that today. Financial services are huge with us right now. Investment packages, retirement funds, IRAs, long-term investments, those are all great. So it's really across the board. I'd say the one vertical we don't do well in is probably B2B, to be totally honest. Anything that's B2C, we've really seen good success with.
That's great. So B2C companies, listen up. This is a great way to supplement your existing advertising and promotional budget. Obviously, ROI will handle everything for you from soup to nuts. And if people call you, Joe, what's the process? Do you look at their company, look at their messaging, determine what you can do for them, and sort of give them a blueprint or a layout of what it looks like by doing business with ROI?
Yeah, we do. So obviously meet with all clients before we take any kind of actionable steps, right? First and foremost, do we think it's a fit for us? Can we make you guys money? We're not going to waste your time or my time or anyone's time or money if you don't think it's going to be a scalable campaign. So we'll look at the campaign, look at your success metrics, what you guys want to do, prior existing campaigns, what you're doing on other alternative sources like Facebook and Google. And then we'll see if it's a fit for us. If it is, then we start you off with the whole process of onboarding and some basic tech stuff involved and some copywriting, et cetera, et cetera. And then we start testing, and we have this whole process. We start very slow, which some people like and some don't. But, we start your budget out in a limited spend rates. We find what's working, and then we scale once things are profitable for you.
I love it. And I'm thinking of at least 20, 30 people that I know that have products that really, the B2C type products that really should be thinking about native marketing, native advertising in this powerful way that you represent. It's very, very interesting. When we think about doing business with ROI Marketplace, and I'm a startup entrepreneur, when we talk about a brand, let's talk about branding for a startup.
Sure.
How important is that branding for that startup success, in your opinion?
I mean, it's not critical, but it always helps, right? So, again, we always tell people this is a great way to, supplement what you're doing elsewhere, add more value to your bottom line. So I personally feel anyone advertising on Facebook or Google or alternative sources should have a budget set aside for native marketing. There's no reason not to. It's so cost effective. It makes such a tremendous, increase in what you're doing elsewhere. We've seen as much as a 60% jump in branded search traffic on Google Google search from our native campaigns. It's people that are typing in your product name or service directly on Google. So, I mean, the fact that alone pushes up your value so much in these products, it's hard to really ignore that.
That's amazing. Let's break it down a little bit more, because we're still probably have some people watching and listening. We have a lot of CEOs and founders, a lot of marketing people, a lot of PR people, advertising people, startup entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. So let's pull the lens back even further now. So let's just say that Andy has I sell a financial service. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say I have a financial services company. I contact you, Joe, and I want to get more people that I can talk to sell them my product or my service, right? So let's just explain it a little bit more. Do your folks write a wonderful article that my link gets embedded in that takes people to my landing page? Let's talk about some of the sort of more critical aspects about what this native marketing is.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So we'd write a content piece about your product and why it's beneficial for your target consumer base, right? So, hey, here's a great alternative investment model that's going to help you make more money for your portfolio. We list some selling points, link in some testimonials, some happy customers that you've seen in the past, and then we drive users straight into your sales funnel, where you're going to capture probably name, phone number, email address. Then your sales guys are going to get in the call and try to close the deal with them.
See, that makes all the sense in the world. When I'm Googling around, which everybody says now, and I am looking for something in particular, and I come across a website that says sometimes like the top 10 things that I'm looking for, the top 10 companies that that are doing this type of thing that I'm looking for, the top 10 products that are out there, or the top 5 new gadgets that are out there, and I'm looking for, let's say, a flashlight. Sometimes those articles that I'm landing on are native marketing. Isn't that right? And those articles that would then take me to a landing page if I click on a particular link that has been developed to get a customer in a sales cycle?
100%. Yeah, those sound like some examples of native ads we've seen or even run in the past. So 100%, you're going to see that in native in a lot of ways.
See, I love it. And it's very interesting because there's a lot of people that go to those websites, and that's the beauty of native marketing and what you do at ROI Marketplace. And they don't really know that that's really an advertising piece. They believe that is an editorial piece that has some great information, which it does, but certainly it takes someone to a website that can help convert that client into a customer for a top-tiered brand that you're representing. I love it so much. It really makes all the sense in the world. Anyone watching the show or listening to this on our podcast that has a B2C type product, if you don't have this native marketing in your toolkit, it's very important to supplement what you're doing. And I think what Joe's saying is that the ROI on these native marketing pieces are really, really outstanding, which I really, really love. Let's talk about some of the things that you do, Joe, just a little bit, because I know you're an expert in content creation and design and promotion. Let's talk a little bit about engagement, because that's where we sort of bring in the data piece and how important it is to have the right data for the people that are coming on these various landing pages that are either engaging or not engaging at that particular time. So can you address how important data is for a successful native marketing campaign?
Yeah, I mean, data is everything, right? So we're tracking from click to, bottom of the funnel, every single client we have, who's engaging with this content. Engagement really means who's reading it, who's staying on your page, and who's making it to the next step, right? You can tell when something is well written and well received by how engaging it is. How many people make it from step 1 to step 2. So that's how all optimizations start, is right there. And I mean, the data we're looking at is every single placement, every single site ID, every ad that's being run has all got some kind of trackable metric behind that all backs into your profitability.
That makes sense. So when we're looking at this model, Joe, how many times what percent of time is the objective to actually get the person to buy right then and there versus getting a lead that can be followed up on and sold eventually down the road?
We see both. We see a lot of clients that want to have day one purchases. Then we see a lot of clients that just do simple lead generation or email capture. Both can work very, very well. And it's important that your funnel is also set up elsewhere. So if someone is on my current content page, am I dropping a Facebook remarketing pixel on their page? Am I dropping a Google remarketing pixel on their page? Is my branded search properly set up on Google where they can go type in my product later? Maybe I'll sell them at that point in time. So we see really both sides of the fence. And I think both can work equally well depending on your internal needs.
I love it. So this is getting into that technical aspect, Joe, that you and your team at ROI Marketplace are experts at. A lot of people who maybe are, let's say, C-level executives, they're listening to you talk about pixels and tracking and this and that. They don't really know what you're talking about, but you know what you're talking about, and their marketing people know what you're talking about. And really, this is just taking a potential visitor and turning them into a client eventually, which increases your ROI for your marketing spend, which is very interesting. For larger companies, Joe, for Fortune 500 companies, someone listening to this show or seeing the video cast might be saying to themselves, these larger companies, they don't need any of this content marketing or native marketing because they're so big, everybody knows them. But you and I know that's really not the truth. So maybe you could talk about how the big companies take advantage of native marketing as well.
Yeah, well, think about what native is, right? It's a direct connection between, your company and your consumer, where you can tell your story about your product. So I don't care how big you are, you want to have that piece of a puzzle, set aside for this. PR companies should be doing this all day. You want to get a PR piece about your company out to the marketplace. It's a great way to do that. More importantly, you can then target your exact audiences, demographics, sites you want to be on. That's majorly powerful for these companies, right? So you can't be too big to want to, set up a campaign like this. It'd be like saying I'm too big to advertise on Facebook. Well, no, you're not at all. No one's too big to advertise on Facebook.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes all the sense in the world. Joe, a lot of people have heard this word called the funnel. A lot of people don't really understand the way the funnel really works.
Sure.
Or what even a funnel approach to everything that I know ROI Marketplace does. Could you explain the funnel approach to this marketing concept that you're involved with?
Yeah, absolutely. So think about how a funnel is built, right? It's like this. So the more people you put in the top of the funnel, AKA the more leads, the more clicks, the more users that are seeing your product, the more you're going to get out of the bottom of your funnel, which is going to be a conversion or a paid, client per se. So our goal is to solve that gap and to get as many people as possible out of the bottom of your sales funnel.
See, I love that. And people that don't understand email marketing. So oftentimes part of that funnel is an email marketing campaign. And is that something that ROI Marketplace also handles for your clients?
Not really. We've got partners that we can refer to, but it's also a critical piece of the puzzle, right? So if you do capture somebody's email address, and they want to learn more about your product or service, well, it's very important that you've got some kind of series set up where you're emailing them updates about your product or service, right? It's critical for those campaigns. A lot of people do handle that in-house, which is what most of our clients actually do as well. We do have a great company we can refer clients to that don't have that in their house.
That makes sense. So, Joe, if I'm a business owner and I'm saying to myself, it seems like I have a lot of people coming to my website, but compared to the amount of people that take an action on my website and leave their name and number, or download an ebook, or download a white paper, or request information, it seems like I'm losing a lot of people that I never get to really know who they are, what they want, where they're at, what they need. How does ROI Marketplace help in that type of a situation for those business owners that are wondering why they're not getting those types of conversions that they would want to have on their website?
Yeah, that means you're not selling them well enough, right? Every time somebody is on your website and doesn't convert on your website, you did a poor job of selling that user. Now, quite honestly, a successful job might be 5%, might be 10%, might be 50%. We don't know. It varies per client, but every single time they do not buy your product, you do not do a good job selling them your product. So number one, most important thing is to get your sales cycle set up properly. We're doing a better job of selling your clients.
See, that makes a lot of sense. When someone comes off of a website as part of the funnel, is there a way to know who they are and how to go back and retarget them after the fact to sort of get them to re-engage back with that website that they just came on, and explain how that works?
100%. So we do internal remarketing, which we discussed a little bit earlier, where basically we drop a cookie on their page and we show up in different native feeds, right? Also, highly recommend you have got Facebook remarketing set up. So how that works is someone clicks on one of our ads, goes to our page, reads about your product. They go to check their Facebook feed. You want to be the first thing they see in their Facebook feed is that same ad you were just looking at, right? That's great remarketing. Same things we done on Google, right? You're going to pop up in Google display campaigns and other similar remarketing campaigns. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. It's very, very important.
That's awesome. And obviously, there's a lot of people that don't even know that that's really happening. And, obviously with some of the shows on Netflix and, Amazon Prime and things like that, Joe, we're starting to learn now more for the general public that everything's being tracked and everything's being looked at and everything's being watched. And to a certain extent, things are being manipulated, but they're being manipulated in a positive way. Because I say, when I go onto a website, and in this particular case, we're talking about that I wanted to buy a flashlight, I don't mind if I receive some other information down the road about great flashlights, because at least I know that they know that I want a flashlight, and I don't mind getting that information, right?
No, truth be told, most people actually prefer remarketed ads and audience-based ads because it is what they're interested in, right? I always laugh when, you walk by someone's screen that's maybe looking at, shoes a day before, they're going to see that same pair of shoes pop up in their newsfeed, and they're so amazed by how that happens, right? It's a simple remarketing pixel in place, and that type of campaign is so profitable and so beneficial because it converts at a very, very high rate. And on top of that, users want to see those ads, right? I've engaged with that content once. I'm lucky to want to engage with that content again. I think remarketing does get a bad name in the media, but truth be told, it's actually just a very effective form of marketing.
It's very effective and it's very beneficial. And, we try not to do any harm, but I want the people, the companies, the data to tell me what I want sometimes. And I think that's really remarkable that the data and the analytics can actually do that, Joe. I want to talk to you a little bit while I've been able to cut out some time with you because I know you're very busy and have a lot of clients to get to. I want to talk about this idea of money being left on the table. So many companies are working on the margins right now. In other words, every small percentage point of increased margin is very, very important for most companies in this day and age because of the fact that the business environment has been leveled. In other words, we have to look at small increased margins for most companies that make a big, big difference. So could you just address that a little bit for companies watching, why they should probably look at this type of native marketing, call ROI Marketplace, because you can help them increase not only big margins, but it's those small percentage points that make a big difference as well.
No, it is. And we always tell clients how important it is to diversify your portfolio, right? I know people that have built multi-million-dollar businesses on only Facebook. And that's great and fine when things are going well, but what if you lose your account someday? What if something happens with Facebook? What if Facebook goes out of business, right? If you build a whole business on one single platform, you could be in a really rough spot. So by diversifying your ad spend and having more oars in the water, you're doing a better job of actually keeping your campaigns more steady and more profitable. I think stability is key in any business. And you don't want to see too many highs and too many lows. So, by having a healthy native campaign in addition to what you're doing elsewhere, you're going to help, see more profitable buys, consistently.
That's great, Joe. When somebody engages with ROI Marketplace, is there a fee to engage, or is it more of a piece of the spend, or do you have different sort of packages for different size companies and different native marketing approaches?
Yeah, we traditionally just work off a percentage of their spend, pure agency model. We manage everything from A to Z, as I mentioned, content, ad creation, copywriting, design, then of course, optimizations and campaign management. So we charge a percentage of the ad spend for that. There are some other packages we can also do, but I'd say 90% of our business is just cost plus.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, anyone watching this, hearing the person who I call the king of native marketing is going to want to take a look at this native marketing in a big way, certainly to supplement your existing program. And even if you are currently doing native marketing, but you're not working with ROI Marketplace, reach out to Joe, let him take a look at what you're currently doing, and maybe he'll be able to provide some even additional benefits and additional ROI by the systems that he's been able to develop over the past 15, 20 years. So it's really a remarkable concept, Joe. I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show. This native marketing is such an important piece of any promotional approach or any advertising spend for any company. So many people had questions about it, including me, and you really sort of solidified it and made it black and white in a way that's very meaningful. And I'm sure anyone watching the show is going to want to reach out to you and talk about what you at ROI Marketplace can do for their business, Joe. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I
really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully people took something from it.